Hey everybody, today we're going to be baking up something seriously good. We're going to be making my pumpkin coffee cake streusel topped cookies. It takes everything you love about this fall season, everything that you love about pumpkin, and wraps that in with what you love about coffee cake. And everybody knows that we love that delicious crumb topping. So I'm going to show you how to make these. And then on top of that, we're also going to be adding something that makes it extra special, which is going to be this delicious maple glaze to really just tie in all the season's wonderful flavors. So let's get started. So first we're going to get started by making our streusel for the tops of our cookies. We're going to start with 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour and 3/4 cup brown sugar. You want to make sure it doesn't really have any lumps in it. If you see any lumps, be sure to just kind of smush those out and down. Next, we're going to be adding in my special spice mix. We're going to be starting with 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. Then we are going to be moving on to 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/2 teaspoon allspice, and last but not least, 1/2 teaspoon ground ginger. If you don't necessarily have all of these, you can also use pumpkin spice in a pinch, but I prefer to mix these together. I think that it gives it a much nicer flavor profile. Be sure to give that a nice good mix, making sure everything is well combined before we add in our butter. Now that we've got that mixed nice and well, we're going to be adding in 6 tablespoons of melted butter. We're going to mix that up together. We want to do this a little gently because we don't want it to turn into a paste. We want it to be these nice, beautiful little crumbles. So you're going to see me folding the dry into the mixture. And if you look, you can actually see that it's turning into a crumble. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pop this in the fridge so that it can get a little hard, come back together, and move on to the next step. Spread 1/2 cup of pumpkin puree on a plate. It's important that it's puree and not pumpkin pie filling because that won't work for this recipe. Using paper towels to soak up the moisture, it should basically be dry when ready to use. You're going to go ahead and set that aside for now. And now we're going to get started on the actual cookie batter. We're going to be mixing together 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose white flour with a tablespoon of the same spices from earlier. I went ahead and did that off camera just because, you don't want to see me do that twice. Or maybe you do. And then we're going to be doing 1/2 teaspoon each of baking soda, baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon salt. We're going to go ahead and we're going to whisk that all together. Once you have that all nice and mixed, we're going to be moving on to our wet ingredients. We're going to start with 3/4 cup softened butter and 1 cup of brown sugar. We're going to go ahead and whisk that all together. Next, we're going to be adding in our 2 yolks. You want them to be at room temperature. We're going to go ahead and mix those in. Next, we're going to add in our vanilla extract. We're going to be using 2 teaspoons. Now that we have that all mixed in, we're going to go ahead with that pumpkin puree that we dried out earlier. We started off with 1/2 cup, and then after drying it, it should be about 1/4 cup. We're going to go ahead and add that in. And now we just want to mix it just until combined. Now that we have everything combined with our wet ingredients, we're going to go ahead and add our dry into our wet. We're going to gradually mix this in. We want to be careful not to overmix because overmixing is going to make for a not so amazing cookie. And then we're just going to gently fold that in until it's all combined. And just about now, we have it all nice and combined. What we want to do now is we're going to put this in our fridge to chill for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and roll our little balls and get started with the crumble. And we're back. Now that our dough has chilled for about 10 minutes, we're going to go ahead and take a 2-inch cookie scoop, and we're going to start making some little balls for our prepared cookie pan. Before we go to our next step, we're just going to be adding our streusel. So now that we have our 6 balls, I'm going to go ahead, just kind of roll them with my hands into a nice little circle. And then I'm actually going to take a spoon to press down on them, because I want to make a little indentation for where my streusel is going to go in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of my cookies. So now that we have made our indentations in each one of our cookies, we're going to go ahead and add our streusel topping to each one. We want to go ahead and fill it just enough in each of the little cavities that I've created. And it's okay if a little spills over, that's fine. But you want to pack it nice. And now that we have our cookies all nice and done, we're going to go ahead and put them in our preheated oven that's been preheated to 350 degrees for about 10 minutes. When the cookies are fresh out of the oven, using a large round cookie cutter, you're going to want to bring them back into a round shape. For the maple glaze, I'll be adding that down in the description box. And there you have it. We have my easy pumpkin coffee cake streusel cookies, covered in the delicious maple glaze, and let's get into it. I don't even want to wait. It's been giving my house this wonderful aroma, and I've been wanting to sneak a little piece this whole while. So I want to just kind of show you guys what it looks like. Oh, look at that. So now let's have a little taste. All of the flavors that you love about fall, all just kind of coming together magically. Love it. If you're in the mood for anything cookie-wise when it comes to pumpkin, this is going to be the cookie for you. Let me know what you think in the comments if you try it. Are you team cookie or are you team coffee cake? If you're anything like me, you love both. Okay, bye.